Kia ora koutou everyone. I'm Coach and this is my testimony. So I'll just give you a bit of context of my early child life. I was adopted and my birth parents were both Samoan. However, I grew up in a Palangi family from the age of about 15 months. I think there are some missing parts of my early life that I haven't got full knowledge of. I know my birth mother gave me up for adoption, but where I went from there is still unclear. I think there's 15 to 18 months unknown to me. My adopted family were Catholic. I had two older siblings, a brother and a sister. I was provided with well, I was loved and all those things. But growing up for me, I always felt different. No one really looked like me, and I think innately things inside me felt different to the way others were. I had behavioural issues growing up. I was an angry and bad-tempered child at times. When I was at college, I did gravitate to the Pacific and Māori kids, but didn't really fit in there either. When I was at college, I started to binge drink and socially with others, but I didn't know when to stop. I'm pretty certain I was drinking to numb the pain I was in. When I was 17, I was kicked out of home. My behaviour and drinking had become too much for Mum. My adopted father had died just a year prior, of a heart attack, so our family was pretty broken. By 17, I was living in a halfway house and going to court for stealing and burglaries, and my drinking and marijuana habit was pretty significant by then. 19, I was in prison for the first time. I was run out of chances in the community. Prison was tough, and I didn't really learn any therapeutic intervention, so nothing changed for me when I got out. I went and lived in the same halfway house and just started drinking again. By now I'm pretty damaged and lost individual. On the benefit, living week to week, only thoughts are really to get to the next payday, to score, to get more alcohol. I did have some good people who tried to support me along the way when I look back, and one of them was Nuku, that some of you may know, but I wasn't ready, or my thoughts weren't helpful ones at the time. I didn't really believe that things could be different. Nothing changed between 20 to 24 of years of age, really. I enrolled in a couple of courses but never finished, leaving messes behind me and moving on, hoping the next place would be different. 24, I'm back in jail and life is pretty hopeless. I've attempted suicide a couple of times now, unsuccessfully, for two reasons. One, because I was in so much pain, and two, I was causing a lot of pain to others and just didn't see what the point of living was. When I was in prison this time, I started to go to church because was the only place I could find peace. And over time, I went to a Bible study again to try to find more peace. And this pastor gave me a Bible and said, "This is yours now." And I said, "No, I don't want that." I wasn't walking in the unit back with a Bible. But anyway, he wouldn't take it back, so I just sort of hid it under my shirt and sort of went back into the unit and then back into my cell. And over time, I would continue going to the church services, continue to the Bible study, and starting to read the scriptures. And then one night when I was in my cell, I was reading, I can't remember what scripture it was, but I remember hearing this voice saying that you are forgiven, and then being filled with joy. I can't really explain it any more than that. And I remember going out the next day into the unit, and I was just laughing. I was just filled with this joy that I just couldn't explain it. And it just continued for me for a couple of weeks until one night I got sick. And I remember being in my cell again and I was talking to God and saying, Lord, why am I getting sick? I thought I was all good now. And then I said, oh Lord, I'm going back to my own ways. This is rubbish. And then I woke back up in the morning, and the void was back. The void was back inside of me. And I remember getting on my knees and just praying to God, oh, please forgive me. What I kind of sensed God was trying to show me, or what I interpreted to be, was tell me, now you've got to walk it. You've got to walk this journey, and that no matter whether things are good or not, that, the way I interpret it was that God is still working for our good. But the reality being that things weren't always good, or what, and I can see that, I guess, in my faith, being that it's being a Christian, that, the sense of everything's good all the time, so because I'm a Christian now, but the reality being, as we know, that's not the case. And I felt that was something God was showing me. So that really convicted my faith, that moment. And from there I started to, I guess, seek out a bit more, read more of the scriptures. And I was in a unit, and I remember, and Martin was in the unit too, and Alison was there as well. And Martin came, I remember very clearly, Martin came into the unit, and I was sitting with someone when we said, oh, that's the pastor. We both scarpered we both just went somewhere else. Like, we didn't even make eye contact. We just tried to discreetly excuse ourselves from that space. And who knew that, 12, 13 years later, whatever it's been, that we've become great mates. And then I moved to another unit, to a drug treatment unit, and Martin ended up in there as well, and I started to do one-on-one Bible studies with me, which I really appreciated, because one, it got me out of the cell when everyone else was locked up, but two, I started to be discipled, and that's what I was seeking. I was pretty raw. I didn't really know much, but I just sensed and trusted that this was the way to go. So eventually I got out of prison, and Wayne, Maria's dad, had started to come and visit me, and I had no place to go. I had nothing. I was no job, anything, and Wayne and Jill graciously took me into their home, and from there I would continue the journey of I guess being under their discipleship, being with Martin Ellison in the community as well, and started to grow, I guess, my faith. And did a couple of papers as well. So I was really, grappling with the reality of being out of prison and living with that, and also trying to follow Jesus, and that really supported me, particularly the community, but also doing my best to follow Jesus, because coming out of prison, you're full of shame, you're full of lots of things, and being able to kind of hearing from God and trying to follow that journey, that was hearing that voice, no, you are forgiven, no, you are a good person, no, and just so that was a really important, significant part of those early days, months, years of transitioning out from prison, and from there I've tried to continue to do my best to follow Jesus, to hear from God. There's been lots of other miracles that have happened. One quickly was marrying Fiona. When I first met Fiona, she'd just come back from Switzerland. I'd just come out of prison, and we met at St. David's. And I think, and the story goes that when she saw me, that was love at first sight, and she just couldn't let me go. No, she's got a different take on it, but I guess the story is, high-flying diplomat to a lowly prisoner coming together and being married, and we're coming up 9 years being married, is quite a miracle, and definitely God's presence is there for us in our journey together and within our community. And another one quickly was, I remember I always wanted to be a counsellor, and I remember applying to go to Welltech, just even study the course, and they wouldn't let me. They said that I wasn't an appropriate person because of my convictions and stuff, but I continued to follow in that because I believed that's what God was calling me into. And some years later, I did manage to study another place and get my diploma. Now I'm a registered alcohol and drug counsellor, so I kind of sense God. I could have easily said, I just can't do that, but I had a sense that God was calling me into that space as well. But yeah, so that's a brief testimony, and God bless.
Thank you very much.